All right, guys, welcome back to the Built for More podcast. I'm your host, Paco, and today I'm really excited because we got a special guest on the pod, Porter the Barber, also known as Six Figure Phase on Instagram. Porter is based out in Dallas, and he's grown a strong presence with his online platforms with 10K followers on TikTok, 60 plus 5-star reviews, and he's also the founder of the Fade to Fortune podcast.
Yes, sir.
So let's kick it off, bro. So how you doing, and what made you essentially start the podcast? Because I'm sure we have similar reasons, right? So like, what essentially got you started with like trying to push that?
So for starters, I'm gonna introduce my co-host to the pod. Go ahead and introduce yourself, bro.
My name is Whoops. I go by Official on Instagram and TikTok.
Okay.
So the pod idea really came from when we were in barber school. So we went to Blade Craft Barber Academy, which no longer exists. It got shut down. But back probably about a year and a half ago, almost 2 years at this point, me and Wilson were just having a conversation, and we had noticed a lot of the convos that we have at barber school, a lot of these, I feel like, issues or really just topics that everybody can relate to. And we was like, bro, we should have a pod one day. So fast forward, he had graduated and then I graduated, and we both went our own separate ways. And then January of this past year, after I had already been doing a lot of different style content on TikTok, on Instagram, really just put myself out there, trying to be more than a stereotypical barber.
Yeah.
You know, I was like, you know what? We should just try shooting a pod just to see what it looks like. So I have a background in I used to make music. I used to make music videos. So I'm very confident in using the camera pretty much. So I was like, hey, like, I can shoot it to where it's decent. So it's decent. That would be crazy, but like, we have all the equipment. So he sent me some bread. I went to Best Buy. We ended up buying a couple mics. I bought an audio interface. It was like, bet, we was all in. So we shot that first episode, and we were just as nervous as we were excited. You know, like, we didn't really know what we was doing all the way. And at that point, we didn't even have a name. We were just having fun with it. So put that out, got a lot of great feedback on TikTok. One of my first initial videos that maybe had 10K, 20K views. I said, oh wow, people want to see this. So we were a little more intentional about it. So now Fade to Fortune is at a point where like we have pretty much like a soft script. I wouldn't even, a schedule more so, not a script.
Well, you know what's crazy is I actually started following you. I started following you first on Instagram, and I didn't even know you were Face to Fortune. For the longest, I was like, I know I've seen him before, and then you reached out. You wanted to do a reaction video to one of my posts on TikTok, and I was like, no freaking way. It's crazy how that works. Yes, I didn't even know that you were part of the Face of Fortune, and it's crazy how like I definitely think that if you don't if you don't have like a name or whatever, as long as you have the right messaging, I feel like that's way more important anyways.
Right.
And then all that comes later, because when I started my podcast, I didn't even have a name for the longest either. I just kind of just went with it, and then someone was like, "Oh, Built for More, dude, roll with it too." So you know what I mean? You know what I mean? So that's dope. So you said you get a background in using a camera and like music and stuff like that.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
Cool. So would you say that helps a lot with like production and stuff like that?
I would say in overall content creation, yes, because I think in capturing something that people want to see, like sometimes people don't know why they like certain content or why they enjoy it, but they enjoy it because it's center frame, it's perfectly lit, and the audio is crystal clear. So like having a understanding of why the content, you know, of how to create that basically really helps me put out consistently good content, you know.
That's dope, because I mean, what do you think that especially in the service industry, not just barbering, like I see this all the time, like what do you think it's so hard for people to put themselves out there when it comes to like content? Because like I'm sure you come across all the time, like people always ask you, oh, what do I use to get started? And then you kind of give them the game and they don't like do it. So like, what do you think is like the main reason why people don't like do it?
I feel like the main hurdle is people not wanting to be vulnerable in a sense. Because a part of the whole content journey, whether it be a podcast, whether it be you just self-promoting, you have to be able to put yourself out there and be okay with looking lame or looking corny or not being accepted or these cuts weak or what is he talking about? Like, you have to be okay with that. And I think a lot of people that sit behind, you know, the lens of a consumer, it's easy to be like, oh, this is trash, until they have to do it, you know, realize that it's not easy.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Because I say it all the time too, especially now that I coach barbers online, and the number one question is, what camera do I use? Well, it's the best one that you have on you.
No, that's facts.
You know what I mean?
And it's
It's
facts.
all. Go ahead.
No, I was just agreeing with you. I feel like people make it more complicated than they have to, because I definitely started with just my cell phone at barber school.
No,
Um,
seriously, dude.
just my cell phone.
And it's literally that simple. Like I feel like people want to complicate it and they want to like see all the cool trends. That's cool, right? But I definitely feel like if you're going to start shooting content, it should be something that you see and that you actually like, because a lot of people don't ask themselves, why do I like this? Like how you said earlier, a lot of people don't understand why they like what they see. They just go off of just scrolling. Oh, I like that. This is cool. I'm gonna try that. And
Exactly.
and 9 times out of 10 they try, and it doesn't come out the same way that barber did or that person did it.
Mm,
But they don't know that person or the content creator has done that same video
a
like a
thousand
hundred
times.
times.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
a
exactly.
thousand times. So I especially like teaching content, especially at a scale online, is it comes with its challenges. Like definitely teaching people, barbers especially, like start off with a satisfying action. That's like the easiest thing to do. Like right off the bat is one of the easiest things. So like as far as like when you create content, what is like your framework, and how do you start by like setting up the camera and stuff like that? Like how do you start, like how do you get yourself going?
I think the easiest way for me is to kind of visualize what I'm about to do first. I try not to wing it, even though being barbers and being people in the creative space, oftentimes we just wing it. So,
Yeah.
but I think that could be a hit or a miss. Like we were doing that with the pod, the first 3, 4 shoots, 3, 4 episodes, just winging it and it's working. But it comes a point where like, okay, we need to be able to sit down and hit some main points. So I think in shooting our pod, we basically have a schedule that we're following, and at that point, it's about capturing like the right angles that I know will be able to tell the story that we're trying to tell. So
Right, right.
we gonna go over a list of these topics. Okay, these are the topics we want to hit on, but we also want it to have some sort of organic flow to it, to where it's not overly scripted. So we're just gonna hit these topics. We're gonna make sure like the lighting is decent and the audio is decent, because those are the two main things. You can have a great visual picture but poor audio, people gonna
Yeah.
skip immediately.
Immediately, yeah, but
Immediately.
especially with podcasts too, right? Like that's the main thing, is you want to get the, because a lot of people, most of the time they're listening anyways. They're not just like looking at the at
Exactly.
you know what I mean? So,
Exactly.
and that's pretty cool. How dude, honestly, that's some game that you just gave me. Like whenever I do my podcast, it's always like my guests that I have on. It's always like, oh, like I don't know what to talk about. Oh, we'll just follow my lead, and I'll ask the questions. But that's cool how you pretty much structure it to where like, okay, we're gonna hit these top. That way, it's not like just free form. It's we're following a map.
Exactly, exactly. I
That's
feel
cool.
like in doing it that way, it allows you to kind of maximize what you're getting out of every shoot. So where it's like sometimes, which you probably already experienced, it's like we've had a couple of guests who aren't necessarily confident or comfortable with a
Dude,
camera right in their face and a
that
mic
was
up close
that.
on them.
That's literally my next question, is like how do you get those guests to kind of like get out of their shell? Because I recently had two guests, bro, like two guests that I was like, okay, like there was like a little brief silence, and I'm like, okay, and me, I'm the host, so I have to keep
That's
popping out,
fact.
keep popping out those
That's
questions,
fact.
so and it's okay to be a little awkward, right? It's
Right.
it's okay, it's okay, because not only does that give the guest to be more comfortable, but
Mm.
it also gives you time to kind of go over your questions or whatever you have written down. But that was literally my next question: how do you get guests to kind of get out of the shell? Because I have experienced that, you know.
Right. So luckily, it does help that I do have a co-host. So I feel like
Huh,
we
okay,
work well. So every pod I've been on, he's been on. Literally every single one.
that's it.
So it works well to where I think it's more so about creating like a good space and a good energy right from the jump. So whenever we're getting there now, at least when we first started, we wasn't doing this. We kind of like small prepping and we throwing people in the fire. Now we don't do that. We kind of go over a little bit. Okay, look, this is what we're about to kind of shoot today. I'm about to ask you a couple of these questions. Don't overthink it. If you don't feel comfortable with something, we could shoot it over again. Kind of just bring that pressure all the way down. Like this, you don't have
Yeah,
to perform. Just be yourself. If I know it's a question that's semi like a like a controversial question or something that's kind of like something you wouldn't hear every day, I will try to pitch it. Okay, look, we finna ask this, so already have what you think you're going to say lined up to where it don't catch them all the way for a loop,
Yeah.
and you get these 30 seconds to a minute long pauses where they're kind of like,
I
there's like,
mean, I mean, what's cool about even if they were to even like be a pause, you can right off the bat edit that out. But
you
you
know
know,
exactly,
right?
exactly.
But if it were live stream though, that's a different story because
No
then
facts,
because there's more pressure on because I do have aspirations of eventually live streaming a podcast.
right?
And what's cool about this platform Riverside is that you can actually stream while you record. So that's
Oh
pretty
wow,
cool. Yeah, so you're able to stream on I think to YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook, I believe. So while you're literally recording locally onto your disc. So that's why I chose to go to Riverside instead of the Zoom route because I do feel like it has more capabilities opposed to Zoom. Because I think
yeah,
Zoom is just
yeah, that's hard. You really just put up. We need to try to do that.
Yeah.
We need to try to. I would like to just at least try it out.
Yeah.
my
At least try
Especially
it.
for people who
yeah.
area.
Go ahead, bro.
So especially for people who not like in Texas or in the Dallas area.
That's exactly why I wanted you on, bro. Because like I'm out of the Texas area, and I do plan to go out there. I actually have an event sometime in August. To go. I mean, hopefully I can go, but if not, well, next time. But I do have plans to go out to Texas soon because I have a lot of barber friends out there that I've been wanting to go out there shoot pods and stuff like that. So, yeah, so yeah, dude. My mentor actually put me on to Riverside. Because I asked him because he has a few remote pods on his YouTube channel. He said, "Bro, it's Riverside, bro. Riverside is like the way to go because you can record locally. There's no lag, little to minimal lag, and then you can stream it as you're recording. So, I mean,
Right.
which is like legit,
No. So whenever you do decide to come out here, please let us know. We would definitely love to return the favor, have you on the pod.
Dude.
It's
I would love
also
to do
just
that.
it's a cool vibe, bro. I think you'll really enjoy coming down to the shop. We like to have a good time while doing it. So it's not so like, camera in your face. No,
No.
everybody can just be chill.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, bro. I've actually gotten pretty used to being like on camera, like especially with the brand. Like now that I'm building my shop now, and and then the podcast and stuff like that, so I have to be okay with being on camera. At first it was hard. I'm not gonna lie. At first it was hard, like especially since I have a stuttering problem, like, in a sense. So I've gotten some speech classes and stuff like that for this reason because I really want to level up when it comes to content and stuff like that. So,
Right.
you know what I mean? So, but yeah, I would love to be on the pod, bro. Like it does sound fun. Like I love camera, like tech and in general. So like this is kind of why like I would love to put you guys on some stuff that I know too as well.
Man, look, please do. I mean, mind you, we're still relatively new to the industry of barbering. Like I know my place in it all. I've been cutting hair for a while, but only maybe a year and a half as a license as like a professional barber, really going
Right.
full time with it. Like I'm prior Air Force. I was in the Air Force for
Oh
like
shit.
7 years. Yeah.
Oh
Then
shit.
after that, I was a contractor for the military for like 2 years after that. So like I just got into this, but I've taken all my other lived experiences, being professional, being punctual, like being on time. I've always been creative. So it's been an easier transition for me, I guess, in comparison to other people, but it also gives me a unique perspective coming into barbering because it's like I feel like a lot of barbers take what this industry is for granted and they don't
Oh,
really
100%, bro.
operate in full capacity how they could. Like there's no reason within, Lord willing, within the next 6 months, I'm projected to be a booked out barber. I've only been doing this a year and some change, but it's from just content, maybe 20-25%, but really just being punctual, being on time, providing a great service that's not overpriced,
Right.
And the content is just the proof of I am who I say I am.
100%. And the podcast just adds to that value
Yes.
because you know what I mean?
It most definitely does.
Because at the end of the day you can't fake a good conversation.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I definitely feel like everybody in the service industry should get on a podcast on somebody's or have their own.
Right.
Because it gives a different light onto six figure fades, right? Or
Right.
Porter the Barber. You know what I mean? It gives a whole different light, and I definitely think that people should know about that, opposed to hearing XYZ from this person. You know what I mean? Or that 1 hour they spend with you in the chair. You know what I mean? So I definitely feel like
right.
you know what I mean?
No,
So,
facts.
because at the end of the day, like I said before, you can't fake a good conversation. You can't fake being yourself for an hour. Like, it's just impossible. You know what I mean? Unless you're good at faking it, right? But at the end of the day, I definitely feel like everybody should be open to be on a podcast or have their own, because it does help the brand. It does help build value with what you're doing. And I can already see you building value online, especially from what you're already been posting, because that's why I got attracted to your content. And this is why I wanted you to have on the pod too, because I feel like you can inspire others to do the same. And not only that, you've also said that you were in the Air Force. That's honestly dope. So like, if you can shed some light on that, like what was the experience like being in the Air Force, and then like going full force on being a contractor and now to a barber?
So it was I joined the Air Force right out of high school. Mind you, I'm 29, so this is back in 2014. Well, joined the Air Force right out of high school. Really just didn't really know what I wanted to do all the way. It was a means for a better life, a lot of benefits, get to travel the world. The Air Force is also where I taught myself how to cut hair.
Oh, really?
Had a bad experience at the barbershop. So my father had been cutting my hair probably up until high school. So luckily he was able to help me out a lot. So when I first picked up the clippers, that was the first person I called to be like, yo, what do I do? Like, he's explaining, well, this is open, this is closed, this is what zero gap is. He's explaining these basic terms, and me practicing on myself, for lack of better words, fucking myself up for months on end. And luckily I had a roommate who was aggressively receding and allowed me to,
kind of practice that dexterity and
practice a little bit.
Yeah.
Practice a little bit. So eventually I kind of got good with that, and then out of nowhere I got orders to South Korea. So I was at Osan Air Base for about 14 months, and there I was able to cut even more hair. But that's also where I had seen like the best barbers in the world, in my opinion. The barbers in Korea are mainly women. I think it's more so like it's a cultural thing. So the best barber I ever had was this old Korean lady. She's probably like 60 years old. The best fade I ever got in my life. And I can say I'm very particular about how somebody cuts my hair. But anyways, I was there, and then that was my last year in the military, and then after that I was a contractor. Basically, for those that don't know, contractor is a civilian that basically works a military job under a third-party contract. So I worked for the military as a civilian. My job the whole time, I was a firefighter for literally from 18 to 20, about 27. So that also allowed me a lot of heads to practice on. I'm in the firehouse and like, bro, can you get me real quick?
Yeah.
I definitely was able to kind of build some of my skill while just being in the military. So it really just worked. After, when I was contracting, I was everywhere. I probably went to maybe 4 or 5, 6 different countries. It was cool. It was a great experience. But after doing that, I knew I kind of wanted to be a barber. And at first, I'm not gonna lie, I was very against being a barber, only because I was more so ignorant to the barber industry, and I was just following what I thought like the stereotypes was, like, how people view barbering as a side hustle, and how it's not a lot of money in it, and how like XYZ. So I'm thinking at the time, I'm better than that. I ain't about to be no barber. Lo and behold, I'm just like, why am I fighting this? This is really what I want to do. So I ended up moving to Dallas, me and my fiance, and started barber school. Met Wiltz. Arguably, my class was the best class that ever came through barber school ever in history. Everybody, because it was a mild competition, but I feel like we were all making everybody better. So I was doing content every day, and I also came in with 5 years of cutting hair. Mainly it was coarse hair, but I knew how to fade. I knew how to get a good haircut, So left barber school, knew how to cut straight hair, pretty decent at my shear work, have came long way since then. I can do damn near any type of haircut I want to at this point. But that's kind of how that journey went. Just one thing after the next thing after the next thing.
That's dope, dude. Like, it's crazy how you literally started from Air Force to firefighter, and then, you know what, like fighting the earth, like you knew already you wanted to be a barber, but like at the same time you were being a little stubborn with yourself.
Oh,
like,
very much so. Yeah.
Like, I don't see myself. And in a strange way though, like you were already doing what you needed to do to get there without even knowing it.
Right.
You know what I
Exactly.
mean? You know, because in the back of your head, you're like, nah, I know I'm gonna be a barber, but I'm gonna be a little bit stubborn just because, like,
Nah,
you
that's facts.
know what I
Nah,
mean?
that's facts.
You know, and in a very similar way, that's how I started cutting hair too. Like, I was very stubborn. I was very because I'm very into tech. Like, I
Mm.
just love tech. You know, after high school, I actually wanted to. I went into computer science school. I tried to at least. That shit was not for me, dude. That shit was not for me. It was just too much at once. So, and mind you, I was still cutting hair too. Like I was still cutting it on the side, just like you. Nah, I don't want to be a barber.
Right.
Nah, I don't want to be a barber. But then one day I got home from work, and there was a whole line outside waiting for me. And I'm like, okay, all right, let's invest a little bit more and figure out what I'm gonna do, because this is more than just wanting to be a barber at this point. I'm sure you realized at that point too. You're like, okay,
Nah, that's facts.
think I'm gonna give into this now, you know. And
Right.
I'm sure looking back, you're honestly thankful that you did, because I mean, dude, like how you said earlier, like barbers do take barbering for granted, bro. Like
Yeah, they do.
the amount of freedom that barbering gives you to do other things outside of the business and cutting hair, it's a beautiful thing, dude. If I'm being honest with you, and I don't take it for granted. That's why I'm always focused, I'm always editing, and then, of course I try to give myself that leeway of like one day I have to be with family, you know.
Right.
But you know what I mean? But it is true what they say though. Like you leave that 9 to 5 to work 24/7. Because I mean, would you say like you're always working at this point? Like whether it be
Oh yes.
content,
Nah, facts.
whether it be
Facts.
content, cutting hair, and then this and that. So how do you figure out the rhythm with all that? Because a lot of people say balance, but I firmly believe it's more of a rhythm opposed to a
Right.
balance, because the balance one has to give, right? But
Yeah.
with the rhythm, everything's flowing. So how do you stay on rhythm with like with your like your personal life and your business?
So what I will say is, that's actually something I'm still going back and forth with. I have very good months, and I have months where I'm kind of bullshitting. I've been like I'm kind of slacking. But I think when I'm on rhythm, it's really because I have will take a Monday or a day where I only have maybe 4 or 5 heads. I can sit down and schedule out my week. And at that point, I can be on rhythm because I know exactly what I need to do at certain times in my day. Like for the days where I know it's going to be a busy day, like my Tuesday is typically booked out. My Tuesday or my Thursday or Friday. These days where I can't do nothing else but go to work and come home.
Right,
I
right.
know I don't account those days for anything extra but that. You know,
But that, yeah.
but on these extra days, like even today for a fact, like I knew I was gonna come on and shoot this pod, but first half of the day I wanted to be able to hang out with my fiance, like hang out, just do whatever we want to do, and I know I need to do that today because tomorrow the week starts and it's work and then it's this and it's life and then I got to go to the gym. So it's like really more so being intentional with all these spare little moments and not winging it how I had talked about earlier. Winging it
Right.
is just no. I think it's about kind of setting a schedule and a time for yourself, and at that point having the
Yeah.
discipline to follow it.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree, especially like the whole winging it thing. Like, I feel like at some point you have to realize, okay, maybe I shouldn't wing this. I create my own schedule. I think I can, add a little bit of time for myself, for my family, the gym, like, like for me, I'll go to the gym three times a week.
Okay.
Mondays are my strictly editing days, and if I find little time to edit, I'll do this here and there. So it's literally finding what works best for you, especially being a barber. How I said before, you have all the time in the world to kind of dictate what you want to do, and
Exactly.
and I do agree with you how you said earlier too, how barbers do take all this for granted, so like what is one thing that you feel like is like that barbers do these days that just isn't that shouldn't be done in the barber industry, as far as that you see on social media?
Okay, so I think that's a hard question, and typically if this was normal pod setup, I would look over to my co-host to answer that question for me. So, what is one thing you feel as though barbers are taking for granted, basically, or something that they're doing in abundance that you feel like is not necessary?
I'm not sure. I think mostly just trying to have time in the shop and what else you're doing to get clients other than just sitting in the shop.
Yeah.
maybe I don't do the best on social media, but I go out and pass cars out, certain things like that. And I try.
Thanks.
I don't have any kids, so I try to stay in the shop as long as I
As
can.
long as that's dude, if anyone watching this, if you have no kids, like what are you? You know what I mean? Like you should be doing more. You know what I mean?
You got no excuse. Nah,
You have
fact.
no, you know what I mean. You get, so that's honestly, I do agree with you, bro. Like if you have no kids, you should be doing them. You should be doing at least staying at the shop as long as you can. And one thing that I can say right now that can definitely work if you're trying to build clientele, especially for any, and this can work for anybody in the service industry, is post 3 of your most recent work on 3 post videos or whatever on your story daily, every single day. That right there is gonna show, one, you're showing up, right? As long as you show up, like no one can really talk smack on that. You know what I mean? And then number 2, it creates scarcity for your business. Like he's available right now. Okay, cool. You know. So that's one thing that I feel like that you can do today is posting 3 haircuts on your story, and then if you're already doing the whole card thing, that's just gonna meet in the middle, and it's just gonna create more abundance for you.
Right.
You know that's one thing that I've done in the beginning in my business with social media, and it's worked. I see other people doing it too, and it's worked for them too as well. Like I have a few barbers in my shop that are currently doing that right now too, and it's working for them. So I always have the philosophy, like if it works for me or if it works for somebody else, why wouldn't it work for you?
Right.
You know what I mean?
So I have a question for you in a
What's
sense
up?
because I mean you have a very impressive following on Instagram.
Thank you. Thank you.
Your content looks great. I mean, trust me. As much I know you were saying you was looking at my stuff, we was looking at your stuff. You feel me? So yeah, I mean, we like your content. We like what you're doing right now.
Thank you,
What do
man.
you
Thank
feel
you.
as though are some things that a new barber can implement? I know you just gave the posting 3 times to your story and what that does for you, but as far as curating viral content like
Okay.
consistently, what do you feel as though a new
Okay,
barber should be doing?
so I get asked the question a lot, and the number one thing I will always say is try to make something look as satisfying as possible. Like whether it be, and I say this like in a way where like don't shoot content in the way you cut hair. Like shoot content the way a Barberpvco cuts hair or Porter the Barber cuts hair. I mean, cuts hair. Does that make sense? You
Right.
know, so like what I would say is make something as satisfying and as exaggerated as you can. Because when you make something exaggerated, you're not cutting hair like that already. Is that if that makes any sense? You
Yes,
know,
it
you
makes
know,
sense.
So if you exaggerate an action, like the one that I like doing a lot is I shave. I like to shave, or I like to put the clipper upside down and make sure there's hair falling off. Like that's the number one thing that I always tell barbers: make sure there's hair falling off in your videos, because at the end of the day, people that don't cut hair find cutting hair boring if you really think about it.
Right.
So if you can make your content as engaging as possible when it comes to the general public's gonna watch, and
Right.
that's a client conversion. So that's my mindset whenever I choose to or whenever I do record content, is how can I make this as satisfying as possible for my neighbor to watch, because my neighbor doesn't cut hair. You know what I mean? So I definitely think you guys can use this for your content as well. Is make it as satisfying and as hair falling off as you can. There's this clip that I've done before too. I'm sure you guys seen it too, where barbers will spray dry shampoo.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. At the end of the day, you're not gonna do that on a busy day, right? But for content purposes, you might want to slap a little bit on there and just shave it, or grab your trimmer, go downwards with it, and that creates engagement for the viewer. Does that make
Okay.
sense?
Yes,
You know,
it
you know,
makes sense. It makes sense.
you know, because like I said before, like the average person that does not cut hair it just doesn't care about a tutorial, unless you're teaching a tutorial, right? And I'm sure if you're going to teach a tutorial, you know what that's going to bring. It's going to bring more
Right.
barbers onto the page, which is cool too. You know, it's not a bad thing, because then that just makes the brand, and makes you more valuable as a barber. You know.
So a follow up to that. Do you feel as though, and I only ask this because I mean I'm a numbers person, so I literally track everything that I'm doing as far as like the leads I get,
Right.
the engagement I get, stuff like that. Do you feel like your content brings you more clients? Do you
Yeah.
think it's a high client conversion?
Yes. Yes. And here's why. Because a lot of the times when you have an engagement clip like that, they're gonna sit all the way to the end and they're gonna replay it. all the way over and over again. I think average right now on a regular month, I'm bringing in like 7 new clients off just one post. Like I have one post right now that's still going from like last year.
Oh, wow.
Like, which is crazy. And it's just one clip. It's pinned to my post if you guys want to check it out whenever you guys have a chance. It's literally me just lining up a C cup, you know?
Oh, wow.
And to add to that, I want to say that the whole point of why barbers go viral is not for client conversion. It's just more eyes on you. Does that make sense? You know, I've gotten more new clients off posts that did low numbers than the posts that got high numbers. Yeah, they still bring in, you know what I mean? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It just, so going viral doesn't mean more money. Let's put that out there. It just means more exposure, more eyes on you. Like, think about it, bro. 1 million people in a building that's a lot of people. Like, even if you put it into perspective, like, try filling up your shop with 200 people. Like, that's a lot of people, you know?
Right.
So I've gotten more clientele off videos that did like 10K, 20K compared to the ones that did millions of views. But you still want to get the go viral for the exposure. That's the only reason why you want to go viral, if that makes any sense.
So that makes a lot of sense. I feel like for me, I've gotten most of my clients as of right now come from whatever booking app I'm using. I'm using Booksy more than anything else. So I get a lot of clients from Booksy, word of mouth, and they may go to my content to I guess get proof of what I provide.
Right.
The second category of clients come from TikTok. Like I get a lot of clients from TikTok, but I post the least amount of haircuts on there, and I think it's more so they're booking based upon like the personality and the content.
Yeah, man.
Like the pod stuff. They're like, yo, I saw this pod clip, it was cool, so I booked an appointment with you.
Yeah, dude, it's you, bro. That goes full circle into what I was saying about like why I feel like every service provider should be on a podcast or have their own, because it does stuff like this. People see you and they're like, oh, I want to be around that. You know what I mean? You know, right. and it's not even like how you said earlier. It wasn't even just a haircut. It was you being you. You know what I mean? And I that's another thing that I feel like barbers take for granted is they forget who they are. You know what I mean? And they try to be somebody else when it's like, no, dude, like you're somebody already. You just have to put that out there.
No, that's facts.
You know what I mean?
No, that's facts.
So I do applaud you on that, because I do keep up with your stuff on TikTok. So whenever I do see it, I make sure I like that thing, because I want to make sure you get all your algorithm. You know?
I appreciate that 110%, man.
You know
what I will say is, just to go off what you had said earlier, I do think there's a gray area in creating content where I feel like it's almost like with any sport or any new skill where you kind of have to throw everything at it and see what sticks. Like for my own content, how I said, I'm a numbers person. It took me maybe 150 videos, and 200 videos to kind of figure out my own lane. It's like if you scroll all the way down to my page, I'll sound completely different than how I sound now. But I was masking more of, I guess, my own personality and trying to be like more YouTube type barber, because that's what I grew up on. So I'm thinking, okay, this one sells, let me try to be like this.
Like Mr. Beast type videos?
Well, not necessarily Mr. Beast, but yeah, really more so like, you know, like 360 Jeezy style or like something like that that's not necessarily me.
Right.
You know, but like I'm making a lot of tutorials, which I still make now, but I do them more so in a way that is kind of who I am and not who I'm trying to be. So like doing that, and I feel like every person in their own content lane, there's going to be a gray space to where like your content doesn't necessarily suck, but you kind of got to get through all of the bad stuff to kind of find your own rhythm.
And what's cool about like all the old stuff that you were saying earlier, I'm pretty sure if you were to repost it and repurpose it, it would probably do better now because you have more eyes on you.
No, facts.
You know what I mean? You know, and I can pretty much bet this on anything. Like, a lot of people don't have a business problem, bro. They have an awareness problem. Because if you really think about it, this literally was a point that you just said, where it's like people see you and they want to be around that. So like, let's say for example, if more people knew about you, you wouldn't have that problem of not being booked up.
Right.
You know, that's why how we're saying earlier, it's important for you to show your face, to show you, you know what I mean? You know, like at the end of the day, someone's gonna book you because of your jersey, bro. Let's put that out there. You know what I mean? You know, you go for Barcelona, dude. So do I. I'm gonna book a haircut. You know what I mean? You know, I actually had somebody come in for a haircut the other day. I did a consultation video And he was like, bro, I literally booked the haircut just because you were wearing a Detroit Lion hat. And I'm like, what? Like, I don't even watch sports like that. I just thought the logo was cool. Like, and they thought it was funny. So, and then, again, that just adds to you as a person and you as an individual and more value as a barber too. I definitely think that all these younger barbers too have it all mixed up where it's like, okay, I'm gonna post content and this has to hit.
No, that is facts.
Because I work so hard on this. I work so hard. This has to hit. But somewhere along the line, how you said you didn't get your milestone after the 150th video. No one sees that. You know what I mean? People think like I'm gonna post my 5th video. This one has to know, dude. You got to keep going, keep doing it, keep doing it.
Yeah, you honestly got to put it out.
Yeah, a good way to a good way to study Instagram, and I used to do this too in my earlier days. Is I would go to my favorite creator, and I would go all the way down and look at their first spike. That first spike's gonna tell you a lot more than their most recent one because it's gonna be like, okay, this is what they're gonna be doing for their next 100 videos because this is the one that worked. And that's how you say you're a numbers person. So that right there can benefit you because you're gonna be looking at that and be like, okay, I'm gonna try this and I'm gonna add my own twist to it. A lot of barbers don't do that either. They think that if I do it the same way Porter the Barber does it, it's gonna hit for me. Like, no, you gotta add your own little flavor to it. You can't just like do the exact same thing and then expect it to work. It doesn't.
No, facts
work that way. But yeah, man. So like, what's next for you as far as content goes? Any big goals or projects that you're working on this year?
Couple of goals, which I'm trying to get my young barber here, my co-host, to stick to his goals as well.
I'm seeing my goals.
That's so cool, bro. Because like that's so cool. Because I'm still doing the pod by myself. Like both of you guys are in a blessed position because you guys can keep each other accountable. That's a blessing, bro.
I think having somebody to hold you accountable and for you to hold them accountable, man, it helps out a lot in the barber industry, especially because it's so competitive. But anyways, as far as goals for myself, I am getting married at the very end of this year. So
Congrats.
September 27th. Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm getting married. I'm also supposed to be closing on the house in like 2 months. Appreciate it.
Congrats, bro.
Thank you a whole lot. In regards to barbering, the initial plan was to open up a shop by July, August of 2026.
That's awesome,
and bro. I've been doing a lot of me and my other. I have a business partner. It's basically kind of us going into this as a business venture. It's something I really want to do, and I'm gathering a lot of information on it. I'm either trying to scout out certain locations and really reaching out to barbers that may be interested in working in the shop, but I want to do more research and get in contact with barbers that already are established to kind of pick their brains. Like, that's a big goal of mine, because I mean, it's one thing to plan something out and have all the numbers. It's another to have a conversation with somebody that's actually doing it,
Right.
So, I mean, if you could plug me in with anybody or if that's some expertise that you have, put me on.
I mean, like, okay, so I actually just opened up my shop last year in October, and the grand opening wasn't until like December. So I've only been in business for a few months as a barbershop owner. The one thing I will say this, since you already have an online presence, it's going to be a little easier to fill up those chairs. Because people already know the vibe, people already know what's up, so it shouldn't be too hard filling up the chairs. Because I think it took me about maybe 3 months to fill up my whole shop, and I got 6 chairs.
Okay.
So I definitely feel like having an online presence will definitely streamline you filling up your shop. If one piece of advice I can give you as far as opening up a shop, that's dope, dude. Any names so far for the shop, or you want to keep that on the down low so far?
No, well, it's not necessarily on the down low. I don't really have a name right now. If I'm being honest, I want to call it like 6-figure fades.
That's awesome.
Like that's where I'm leaning towards right now. Because I mean, why build up this brand just to keep it online? Hey. So that is more so what I'm leaning towards.
That's cool, dude. That's cool. Just because that speaks volumes for anyone watching this. Like, you really have to put in 110% to achieve your goals. Because if you don't, well, then you won't see it come through. You know what I mean? And then to actually see the online 6-figure barber coming into the physical form, I'm sure that feels great, right?
Man, it feels amazing. Honestly, I mean, it kind of came. I mean, everything has been kind of with a soft plan or soft vision, right? Like, this is where I see myself. The industry, I feel like I kind of told myself, if I'm going to be a barber, I'm going to do it at the highest level I can possibly do it at, because even though I didn't have aspirations of cutting hair, when I would go on YouTube, I would go watch Chris Bossio, I would go watch 360, I go watch all these guys who I'd be like, okay, they're kind of doing it to the best of their capability. I don't necessarily got to land there, but
Right.
I'm going to land on my version of success, or what I feel as though that is, and that is like owning a barbershop, put myself out there, getting clients, putting other people on.
That's awesome, bro.
Any and everything I can do as a barber. Maybe one day own 2 or 3 different shops.
Yeah, dude, that's so cool because I mean that's essentially why I wanted to do the podcast, like because I have a platform on Instagram and yeah, it was cool posting haircuts and stuff like that, but like no one really like seen my face as far as like haircuts go. So I one day I got this vision and I was like, you know what, I think this is what bro, if I'm being honest with you, this is like my 10th time trying this podcast.
Really?
Yeah, bro. So, but this time I'm making a stick because I actually want to make connections and I want to put people on. I want to help people. I want to open up doors for other people, like, and vice versa. You know what I mean? Because I definitely feel like barbers have the whole networking thing, messed up, where they feel like networking is, hey, bro, follow me and I'll follow you. Like that's not, you know what I mean?
Right.
You know what I mean? No, yeah. Networking is literally this: value for value. How can I make your life easier while you can make my life easier? You know what I mean? Right. So, I'm putting that out there. Like networking is value for value.
So with that being said, how do you feel about the barber expos? Because I really hear a lot of people, barbers, OG barbers, people that have been in the game 10 plus years, they don't really care for the barber expos too much, whereas they're becoming very popular in like new barbers or even barbers like myself. Like right. I like going to the expos.
So it's been a while since I've gone to an expo, but I'm leaning more towards them because, like I said before, I want to network, I want to talk to more people, and I want to make more connections and stuff like that. I actually never had a problem with them. I actually do like them. I just never branched out. I think this is my first year actually leaning more into my voice and putting myself out there in the sense of putting my face out there and speaking, using my voice. So I think they're great for networking, if, how I said before, if you use it for that value for value, how I said earlier. It's not just so much, I'm going to go to these events and I'm going to get as many followers as I can. Like, no, like I actually want to make connections with people and, hey bro, that was dope meeting you. I really appreciate it. Like hopefully one day we can do something like this, like hop on a remote pod and have a conversation, So right. I definitely think if they're used in the right way, they can be beneficial for someone's career, especially if you're a new barber, dude. Like get out there, like talk to people. Say I'm the barber. It don't matter, bro. Like put yourself out there. How we were saying earlier, like you have to do these things. So the OG barbers, I don't understand the whole like why they're hating, bro. If I'm being real with you, like I definitely feel like the OGs should definitely have a different way of thinking because this is the future, man. Like one way or another, they have to let go of that torch someday. Right. You know what I mean? So I do think expos are becoming a actual thing to go to meet and make connections if you're gonna just go and do that, So I guess at one point I was closed off to going to expos because of my stuttering problem or this or that or how am I gonna like what is this person gonna say to me if I go up to him and talk to him, Right. It's like it's nothing like that, It's more so of how I was saying earlier. You really have to just do it.
No, facts. I mean, it's not easy, and that's one thing I've learned. Even coming into this a little confident because I've had different life experiences. Like, man, this not about to be that hard. It's not easy putting yourself out there to even other barbers or especially future clients. Going up to a complete stranger. Hey, sir, how's it going? I'm a barber. I cut down to such and such. If you need a haircut, XYZ. That's difficult as hell.
Oh, dude.
That's anxiety producing.
Dude, so one of the things that I've been forcing myself to do to get new clients into my chair is, so I read this in a book. It was an Alex Hormozy. I don't know if you know who Alex Hormozy is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that guy, by the way. He's genius. But I read his 100 Million Leads book, and he adopts the Chick-fil-A model, and it's either free or full price. So I adopted that model in my business, and it's been great in a sense of like going up, forcing myself to go up to people and say, hey, my name is Paco. I'm a barber here in town. I would love to give you a free haircut, but in exchange for content.
Right.
Because that piece of content is going to be worth way more.
It's worth way more. Exactly.
Yeah, it's worth way more than what I'm charging because that piece of content can bring in 10 new clients opposed to that free. I'd rather pay give that person a free haircut, bless them with a free haircut, then charge them, you know. And what's cool about that scenario is that person will feel so compelled and like, oh, that's cool, bro. They'll come in and they'll end up paying you anyways.
Right. No, 9 times out of 10. Yeah.
You know, so if any barbers out there listening to this, that's one way you can get more people into your chair, is just offer free stuff. Like focus on the service first mentality, and then the money will come later.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
You know, I'm not sure if you tried that, but like I do get you. We're going up to somebody. It's really nerve wracking, bro. It's like, how am I gonna sound? I hope I don't sound stupid. Like, no, it's okay, bro. Just go up there and just try. You know.
So I've actually tried that a couple of times. I know when I was first starting out, I was offering free services. You know, like, hey, I think it was in exchange for like a follow or like at the time sometimes content, regardless of what it was. And I did get a couple of clients. Mind you, these are not conversions. These are
no.
Sometimes when it's free, people just take advantage of the fact that it's free. But
that's exactly why. Yeah, that's exactly why you have to. Yeah, exactly why you have to take the content, because the likelihood of them coming back is very low.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, but if you got the content, it's cool because you can repurpose that. You know, I have this thing where if a video hits, I'll wait a month and repost it again. And sometimes it will actually hit better than it did the first time.
Wow.
Because of the different cover. And then what I'll do is I'll make the first version of it, and then before I forget, because I will forget, I'll duplicate that same project. And then I'll switch to 3 clips and then put that in a folder somewhere else, or like a 2 week post in 2 weeks, post in 4 weeks or whatever. And I'll go to that folder and then I'll post it again. So yeah, you can repurpose content, bro. And then what's cool about repurposing content is you can actually, if let's say for example you did an action but the client's face wasn't in it, you can use that same action and just change it up the showcase or the final haircut.
Right.
You know what I mean? So for repeating clients, a lot of barbers, I get this all the time too, where it's like, oh, well, I already got a video of him. Well, okay, that's fine. Did that video hit? If not, keep doing it. Get clips from that same client, but always update the showcase, because that one time you did that showcase or that final haircut might not be better than this time. So always,
I know what you're saying.
You know, always record the showcase, because you just never know. Like, you might want to change up the first 2 clips from this client. This client's clips were a lot better than this client, so I'm gonna change the showcase to this video.
Right.
You know,
right.
and a lot of my videos that did pretty well were what I call Frankenstein videos. Like, if you actually go back in there and actually look at the client, like, some of these videos aren't the client. It's just the action, bro. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Musicians and music producers do all the time with beats. Like, you know what I mean? They'll repurpose beats. They'll save a certain beat for another time, and they'll repurpose that beat and use it on this guy or whatever. Like back in the day, I think in the early 2000s, remixes were like that.
No, that's facts.
You know what I mean? So repurpose your content. It does help, honestly.
I feel like that's definitely something that we both need to start doing. I don't know. I feel like jumping into content, I was so mildly prideful and just ignorant to how this goes, content creation. So I'm like, I don't want to post something I've already posted, which in hindsight has been a blessing, because now I've created, 300, 400 videos, to which now I'm fine with adding or repurposing. Bro. And now I got 400 videos I can do that with,
Yeah.
Because I was so prideful from the jump.
And that's variety, and that's variety, and then that's another issue that a lot of barbers have. I had that same problem. I'm not gonna post this video again. But then my mentor was like, no, dude, like, don't do that. Like, don't delete that video. Put it in the folder, because you're gonna want it later. Like, sometimes I'll literally have a whole draft folder on my Instagram for days that I forget to edit. You know what I mean? And I'll just pick one. Okay, I'll pick that one today. And 9 times out of 10, what I'll do too is, if I had a good week of beard videos, I'll post another beard one. And once I start seeing that fizzle out, I'll switch it up. I'll go to a scissor clip.
Right.
And once that fizzles out, I'll go to a clip of a clone clip. It's infinite, because if you really think about it, bro, not everybody watches your content like that. It's always new people, if you think about it. Like, if you go to your analytics on Instagram, if you look up the people that view your stuff, 90% of people are from your scrolling. You know?
Right.
You know, so always repurpose your content, repurpose it, put it in the folder. And then another thing too, to be more organized, if you have clients that you're recording constantly, put those in one folder and literally name it that client's name. I have a
Oh, that's smart. Oh,
yeah, dude. Like
that's
I'll show
smart.
you.
He really just put us on to a gym. Okay, yeah, that's
Look,
smart because I feel like it's certain clients who and using barber language who like have the perfect
like
canvas.
wait.
Oh damn, yeah, that's crazy.
And then I have a folder that's 1.2. I have a folder of 1 million videos, one is 5 million views. That way I can use those and learn from them, and then and then I mean at the end of the day, it's not hard to recreate your own content.
Right.
It's not hard because you're the one that made it. So it's harder to recreate somebody else's content. I'll say that. But when it's your content, it's hella easy because you can, all right, next time I'm going to do it this way. And the only one that can control yourself is you. So you're going to do it.
Right.
So that's something that I know that you guys can use for your guys' content. And I'm honestly happy to help if you guys ever need help.
I mean, trust me, man. We appreciate this opportunity. I definitely appreciate this opportunity because I feel like iron sharpens iron.
That's 100% correct, bro.
There's always a person you can learn from, or especially in what you was talking about earlier, actually networking, building a connection, hearing people's story.
Yeah, dude, like at the end of the day, I would have never known that you were in the Air Force if I would have never actually got on the pod with you. But that's inspiring as hell. If I'm being honest with you,
appreciate it, man.
Yeah, from going from the Air Force to barber, that's a lot of people are gonna resonate with that.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like a lot of people have similar stories and stuff like that. So that's another reason why having a podcast is great for the brand and great for the individual too, because people are gonna resonate with that. Like, oh, I want how literally earlier, somebody didn't even book you for the haircut; they booked you because of you, bro. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's awesome, dude. That's a high value client if you think about it, because that client's gonna stick with you for a lot longer than that person that just seen your haircuts. Oh, he's okay, I guess. No, something you said resonated with that person, so he's probably gonna stick around for years to come.
Right.
But yeah, dude. Like, what is one advice you can give to younger barbers that are in a similar path that you were on?
One piece of advice. So, be original. Be you. Whatever that may be. I think we as creators, because that's what barbers are, we create. We gain a lot of inspiration. But don't gain so much inspiration from a creator to where you then just emulate them. You know what I'm saying? You just make what they make. Be original. I think even in Fade to Fortune, there were a lot of barber podcasts that we felt like they're just making barber content for other barbers. And it's like, that's fine. I didn't want to be another barber podcast where I'm just talking about clippers and razors and how much barbers charge, because I feel like that's boring as hell. So I think it's been warm and refreshing to people that want to watch our podcast when we're talking about our family haircuts free, and you got barbers like, and people like, what?
Yeah, what do you?
It creates a
conversation,
unification between the client and the barber, which is what we was trying to do anyway.
That's dope. I love that. Yeah, and to add to that, like how you said, like, be you. A lot of you young barbers are trying to be something else or trying to be somebody. Let me say this: you already are somebody. You just have to put yourself out there. Like a lot of barbers are looking at XYZ barber. Oh, I want to be like him, but a lot of the times people are looking through your window, wishing they had what you had.
No, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So while you're wishing you had what the other barber had, another person, not just barbers, but another person's looking through your window and like, oh, I wish I had what he had. You know what I mean? But it's not until you look into the mirror and like, oh, dude, I think I'm good. Let me see what I can do with what I got.
Right.
You know what I mean?
110%. 110%. Yeah.
But yeah, dude, this is a dope conversation. I could honestly go on for another hour, but I have another guest coming in through right now.
Right.
It was really dope meeting you, bro. I would love to do a part 2 sooner than later.
Man, please, we appreciate being on. I appreciate your time, all the gems.
I was actually gonna ask you, bro, if you were ever down to do a live stream on Instagram. That'd be pretty cool for both of our following.
Yeah.
Sometime in the future.
That is definitely something I'll be down for. I typically don't live stream, but hey, I'm all for it, bro.
Yeah, we can definitely chat about what we could talk about and kind of just give free game to barbers out there. Because, like I said before, there's barbers out there watching us. So it'd be cool to put them on, you know, like how we're doing for each other. You know what I mean?
No, facts.
But yeah, man. So again, I can say before I can go for another hour, but this was dope, dude. I really hope you do it again. But
Yes, sir. Look, we don't want to hold you up, man. If you got any, if you posting any clips of this or you putting this out, man, just tag me and it's all up.
yeah, and I'm definitely gonna start working. Literally right after this guest, I'm gonna start working on it, and then all the guests are gonna reap the benefits from watching this because it's a lot of gems in this one.
Oh no, facts, bro. But all right, man. I ain't gonna hold you up. We appreciate the opportunity.
All right, bro. Nice meeting you guys.
Nice meeting you too,
Nice
bro.
meeting you too, bro.